Okay, so today we're going to work on our spreadsheets a little bit more. So last time you were asked to follow the instructions to the right and enter your name in the first cell. Okay, notice that my name kind of spills right over. So I'm going to select these cells and I'm going to merge them. So merging them turns those four cells into one cell. I'm looking for the icon that looks like the elevator door, and I'm going to say merge all, and then my name shows up. I'm going to left justify it. Beneath that, I have a title. It's bolded, it's color filled, and it's centered. For this, I selected cells A2, B2, C2, and D2, and merged them and centered that data. Underneath that, I have my column headers, and underneath that, I have nothing at this point, but you're going to put data in to match mine in just a moment. So just make sure everything is formatted correctly. You'll notice that I have my trials, and I had 11 test trials. For each one, I indicated how many feet my air skimmer traveled. Notice I have just a number in these cells. I don't have foot or FT or any text at all, just numbers. I also have my launch method. It was a hand launch or a paperclip launch. And then I have my observations. So I'm going to ask you to enter that data as well. When you enter that data, number data and very short data looks better center justified. So I'm just going to click and drag these cells. If they were left justified, they would look like this, and they look better center justified. So center justify the data in your A, B, and C columns for trial number, distance in feet, and your launch method. Your observations should be left justified. If you need to, you can extend the width of this D column by dragging in between the D and E and dragging it over. You don't need complete sentences in here. Just tell me a couple things of what went on when you added paper clips. Okay, so on my 8th launch, I added 2 paper clips because the previous launch, it flew into the air. Then the next launch, my air scoop fell off. I had to reattach it, and I indicated that information. Okay, so once you have all of that information in, you're going to need to add some data down at the bottom. So you'll notice that in cell, so I skipped a row, and in the next row, in the A column, I typed in the word total. Beneath that, I typed in minimum and maximum, and then average. And I used functions that are built into Google Sheets to do this math for me. So I'm going to delete this here and show you how I did it. Okay, so I'm going to click in total. And I want to add all these up. So I could grab a calculator, add them up. I could add them up in my head or on a piece of paper, but I'm going to let Google Sheets add them up, and so are you. So if you click in the cell where you want your answer to be, you're going to go up to your toolbar. Near the right, you're going to see this sigma. A sigma is a Greek letter. In math, it means summation. It kind of looks like a funky looking E. So click on that, and you'll notice that there are tons of functions built into Google Sheets. I'm going to choose sum. When I do that, it puts a function in. The equal sign says, hey, Google, I want you to do something for me. Sum says, I want you to add up some numbers. And now inside the parentheses, we have to provide the range of numbers that we want to have added together. So you might have to scroll up to get to your first trial distance, and you're going to select all of your distances, only that data. When you do, you'll see that you have a formula. It says equal sum all of the data in the cells B4 through B14. To complete that function, hit the equal key, or excuse me, the enter key. Okay, I'm going to do the same exact thing for minimum. I'm going to select the funky E, the sigma. This time I'm going to choose min, and I'm going to choose that same range of data, finishing that by hitting the enter key. Okay, so this would be easily found in the data I have. I could quickly look and see what my smallest and my largest number are. But imagine if you had 500 test entries, you'd have to scroll down and look. So we're going to use the power of Google and Google Sheets to do that for us. We're going to do the same thing with maximum. So I'm going to click in the cell. I'm going to come up and hit the sigma. And this time I'm choosing max. And I'm going to select that data. Okay, the last one, I need to get my average launch. So if I wanted to calculate this by hand, I would have to add up all these numbers and divide it by 11. But Google has a function built into it for you. So I'm going to click in the cell, go to summation, and then choose average. I'm going to choose the same range of data and hit the enter key. And my average launch was 23.5 feet. Okay, so we're almost there, because the last thing we're going to do is we're going to let Google create a graph for us, or a chart. The most important thing to do correctly when you're creating a chart is to select your data. So to select your data, start by clicking on the cell that holds the text trial number, drag over and get feet, and drag down and get just your test launches. Okay, make sure that you don't have any letters in your B column. It should just be distance numbers. Okay, once you have all of that data selected, you can find the chart icon in the toolbar, or you can go to Insert Chart. And Google does a pretty good job of figuring out what type of chart you want. Since we selected the trial number and the distance, it filled in our x-axis label with trial number and our y-axis label with distance in feet. So we know that we had 11 trials and we know the distance that each trial went. But we don't really know what was tested here, because this is a pretty crummy title. So if I triple click in here, I can change my title to something more appropriate. Oops, I lost it. Maybe something like Air Skimmer Launch Data. Okay. And if I click out of my table, I can get back into it by double clicking it. And you'll notice that some tools show up on the right. Okay, in your setup, that's where you choose your type of chart. The type of chart that Google chose for us was a column chart, which we usually call a bar chart. If it chose something else, I'd like you to select a column chart. Okay, we're going to go over to customize, because you're going to need to customize this graph. So let's just take a look. So here we could give the chart a background color. Okay, we could change our font, but we could do that a little bit later as well. I could change the border color. I could change the type of chart to make it a 3D chart. Okay, I'm going to take a look at what I can do with my chart and axis titles. So for my title, so my title is selected, I could choose a different font. So maybe I want to choose something that's bigger and fatter. Maybe I want to bold it. Maybe I want to change the color of my text. Okay, and I'd like you to make some selections as well. Let's minimize that, and let's open up series. Okay, so the series, I'm going to scroll down, and you can experiment and you can choose different things here. But I'm going to turn on my data labels. And now notice that the numbers show up right here. Okay, I can change fonts here as well. Let's minimize this one, and let's go down to legend. Okay, again, I can change my font. Let's take a look at horizontal axis. Okay, and I could change fonts and colors here. Let's go to vertical. I could change fonts and colors here. And like I said, you can experiment. And finally, in grid lines, I could turn on, right now I have major grid lines turned on. So I have a line by 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. but I could also turn on minor grid lines, okay? And I can experiment with some of these as well. So your job is to customize your chart. And then so I can easily see your spreadsheet that I'm going to be opening, making sure that you used a function for your total, your minimum, your maximum, and your average. And I'm going to be looking at your chart. However, this chart covers up our data. So I'm going to ask you to move it. And to move it, you're going to click on the chart, click on those three little dots, and you're going to move it to its own sheet. When I do that, it makes it big in another sheet. Okay, so that we know what is in this tab. And notice we have a bunch of tabs across the bottom. I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call this Skimmer Launch Data Chart. Okay, and I'd like you to do the same. When you've finished, turn in your assignment, and if you and I'd like you to check on course. If you have anything missing or late for me, I'd like you to finish that work. After that, you can check your other classes, and you can use the rest of the class as a work period. If you have nothing to do, no games. However, you can go to BrainPop, watch a video, maybe create something in Tinkercad. And I'm going to say have a wonderful class, and I will see you next session.